Hello, my friends! I'm back again. It's your local art witch, and I wanted to do something a little different today. Now that I'm a little bit more comfortable with talking to a camera, I wanted to share an interest, passion, hobby of mine, astrology. So this is from Astrology. You can cast your own chart there fairly easily. If some of you wanted me to read your chart so I can practice more, I would love that. Your information does appear here at the corner, but I would make sure that that was protected. So, where to start? Astrology. Wow, those are my neighbors. I apologize. Just let me close the window. Astrology is way more complicated than we were led to believe. It's not just about, like, when somebody asks you what your sign is, you would say that you're a Taurus. And that tells, so this would be you. And so that tells us, like, that's your sun sign, right? So let me show you. I found this wonderful little graph that I copied on Pinterest. This is in my little astrology book that I keep my astrology notes in. So this is Earth, and this is how we're rotating, right? And as the Earth rotates, as it travels around the sun, you see these signs. So this is Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, so on and so forth. And as you can see, as the Earth turns, as it moves, we're going into different signs all the time. And that includes the other planets. So when we read your chart, it's much more than you telling me that you're a Taurus. So let's take this person, for example. What can we gauge on this chart? So this is the outside ring. This is an inner ring. We're going to ignore these for a minute. So this person was born in, let me just get a little bit closer. This person looks, yes. Okay, so it's hard to see. See these little lines? Because this person has a lot of energy right here. And we'll get to that in a minute. So their sun is in Capricorn. You'll notice that Capricorn has a few different symbols. This one, and oh wow, it's really weird to draw through. Wow, that like did not show up at all. Okay, let's try that again. One that kind of looks a little bit more like that. Now, these symbols here are planets. Now, in astrology, the sun and the moon are counted as planets. We call those luminaries. So, this person was born in Capricorn, so either late December, early December, January-ish. Their moon is down here, and that's in Virgo, and I'll tell you what that means in a minute. And then we have, okay, let me back up. I can even tell what time-ish this person was born. So you see, this is the ascending and descending. Now, if your sun is above this line, you were born in the day. Any sign down here below your ascending is a night. So this person was born toward the beginning of the year or the end of December. They were born during the day sometime. They're ascending as Aries, and their moon is in Virgo. So what does this all mean? Okay, so each zodiac has elements, an element, I should say. So it's earth, fire, water, air. And that tells us a little bit about the type of energy. I know I'm skipping around and hopefully this is clear, but the planets themselves our energy as well. So the sun is ego, Venus is love, so how you express love and how you receive or understand that you are loved. This is Saturn. This is about discipline, about how you, ways you're disciplined in your life. And this person's discipline is also in Capricorn. This is Neptune. Neptune is the dreamer planet, and that is also in Capricorn. This is Mercury. Mercury, see this little R? That means it was in retrograde. Planets being in retrograde aren't necessarily bad. The way I read this, Mercury being in retrograde, so Mercury is about communication. It's in, let me see, it's still in Capricorn, but it's in a different house slightly. So communication, she communicates like a Capricorn, that earth energy. Earth people tend to be sturdy. That's not the right word because that sounds like a body type. Steady, hardworking, just, like I think of Capricorns usually as perfectionists in some way. And Mercury being in retrograde, so Mercury's about communication. And so that's whether how people communicate with you, how you communicate with others, and even how you communicate with yourself. So your thoughts and how you manage those. And usually, so in Earth, it tends to be pretty reasonable, steady, but in retrograde, I find that energy tends to be more inner as opposed to outer. So this person probably keeps a lot of their thoughts and feelings to themselves, probably percolates over it for quite a while before saying anything. Now, I mentioned before that they have a bunch of planets right up here. Now, you see that these have numbers, and these are telling me the degrees and the minutes at which these planets are placed. So 24, 17, none of these 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Yes, okay, so this, I take it as a degree of about 5. This is a stellium. That means all these planets are kind of feeding off of each other. So when you do 5, you go both ways. So if this is 0, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it would be 10 in total. And so her communication is affected by Neptune, which is the dreamy planet. And Neptune's being affected by Saturn, which is the planet of discipline. And it's close. I'm just trying to see. It's really, really hard to see this way. 12, 32. Yeah, it's all feeding off of each other. And this one's, the sun is just out of that zone. Just barely. I would be tempted to count the sun in on this because there's so many planets in this area. Okay, so the planets are the energy. The sign is how that energy gets expressed. And then you'll see houses 1 through 12. They're assigned counterclockwise. And that's where the energy gets expressed. So the first house is of the self. This person has no planets in the self, but their ascending sign is Aries. So what does that mean? So Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. Aries people tend to be stubborn, kind of hard-headed, but they also like to, if you can imagine, this isn't a perfect analogy, but bulls like to kind of relax in the grass, kind of like a lion. They enjoy their pleasures. They tend to be easygoing as long as you don't make them mad, right? This is about, so house 2 is values. So physical values, your money, your income, your possessions, but also your values as in like what you hold important. The second house is in Gemini, which is air. So Gemini is air, so that's more communication. So I would have to look more to see what that would mean. The third house is about communication. So we've got Jupiter in the third house, and it is making an aspect to Uranus up there, and also to the moon. So her communication is being, okay, where does the third house start? So that's still Gemini. And there's Jupiter there. Jupiter is about abundance, adventure, kind of like Sagittarius people are ruled by this planet, like learning, higher learning, that type of stuff. The fourth house is the house of foundation. So where you come from, your family, usually the mother is represented here. I tend to find, look at this, I was just about to say that, Chiron and difficult planets in the few charts that I've read tend to be in this house, which makes sense. Of course, a lot of our hurts come from our foundations, from our childhoods, right? So this symbol is Chiron. It is an asteroid that we call the wounded healer. It's in retrograde, so these hurts are probably more inner expressed, like she probably keeps them to herself, probably ignores them even. This sign is, that's Cancer. So Cancer is an emotional sign, and it looks like that's exactly where, yeah, it looks like Chiron's in Cancer. So there's probably a lot of emotions behind that Chiron. This is the lowest part of the chart right here, the darkest part, and that's the Imam, I forget the name, but I okay, so this is Leo. So this is her south node. Her north node is up here. The nodes are super cool because they tell us where they're comfortable. So the south node is down here in the 5th house. I will have to look up what the 5th house does. It's escaping me. Now, the north and south nodes are usually directly opposing each other, which this is exactly what I would expect. So your south node is where you're comfortable. Your north node is like your North Star. This is the area you want to go. So it's in Leo. They keep their friends close. They tend to be loyal but hard-headed, once again. Most fire signs tend to be, it seems like. And they're also leaders. They don't like to be told what to do. The North Node is up here in the 11th house in Aquarius. So 11th house is friendships, your outer circle, people who do not live with you, your coworkers. It's in Aquarius, which is, once again, like it's a communication, but Aquarius tend to be more secretive about those sort of things. So if I was to guess, she needs to get more comfortable with sharing things with people. You'll notice that there's an R, which means retrograde, but we don't count it when the moon, like the moon doesn't really go retrograde, so we don't count it when, we see those symbols here. So this is Virgo. The moon is in Virgo. The moon is about your emotions. So she experiences emotions as a Virgo, which is an earth sign. Virgos are very, very hard workers. They, in my experience, I should say, tend to take things pretty personally, but like it's about that perfectionism once again. Like they have a lot of They remind me of Capricorns, but in a little different way. Like Capricorns tend to keep things to themselves, but Virgos, I find, are more fine with sharing things with you. So her emotional state is here, and it is in the 6th house. This, I believe, is a house of destruction, undoing. I'm just looking for my book. Where did that go? I haven't memorized the houses. Here we go. Here's my book. And I made some mistakes here. So her 6th house is service, duty, your health, daily routine. Oh yes, this is where the boring stuff is. This is the boring house. Your daily togetherness. I've been reading horary astrology, so undoing is in the 6th house, but also just like brushing your teeth, getting ready for, like, this is the house of boring stuff. We don't want to do it, but that's what makes life work. This is Pluto. It's in Scorpio, which is a water sign, and it is in the 7th house. One-to-one relationships. Oh yes, and enemies that you know of. Legal matters. Pluto tends to be, it's a planet of transformation. It's making a really strong aspect to that, to the Neptune. So these two feed off of each other. Their energies would intertwine. This is Lilith. It's not an actual point in the sky. Much like the north and south nodes, they are measurements. So you take the moon, and depending on your time of birth, we would measure where the north and south nodes are. And Lilith is also a measurement on the moon. It's like the dark side of the moon. It's about our secrets, our sensuality. It's not bad, but it's something that you don't really want others to know about you, you know? And so it's in that water sign of Scorpio. So there's something emotional that this person needs to get to here. This is Mars. It's the planet of action, planet of anger. It's in Sagittarius, which is adventure. I'm a Sagittarius. So adventure, higher learning. There's a lot of things I've been reading about how Sagittarius are very blunt, that we tend to hurt each other, like other people's feelings. Not because we're trying to, but because we don't realize how we're coming across. And Mars being here would probably amplify that. Now, it is in the 8th house, intimate relationships. So, once again, the planets are bare, pure energy. These signs are how that energy is expressed. The houses are where it is expressed. I think I have, just a second. I think I showed it to you guys before. Sorry, I moved the camera. Where is it? Okay. So the planet is what the energy is, how and where. So the planet Mercury, just so we have an example of how it works. The planet Mercury is communication. How we communicate, how we receive and understand that communication, whether that be social media or even within our own brain. It's in Capricorn, so they communicate like a Capricorn does. So what you would do from there is get comfortable with all the signs. So Capricorn, the success. So responsible, ambitious. So you would go through, discover how this communication style would work. And then after you get that, we would look to see what house Mercury is in. It is in the 9th house. So from there, you would look at the houses. It's just a bare bones, so I can make more charts there. This is just a little bullet journal I got. I said that was the 9th house, right? So yes, the house of the higher mind, expansion, international and long distance travel, languages, inspiration. So all this wonderful stuff. And there's almost no end to all of it, because once you have the signs and the planets and the houses, what about these lines? What do we do? So these are called aspects, and they're all feeding off of each other. Now, if I'm reading this right, I don't know them all by heart. Yeah, it looks like this is an opposition, and these, I think, are sextiles. So here is a chart of this person's aspects. So if you look down and you see the sign, so Saturn is conjunct the sun, which means it's within orb. They're feeding off of each other. It's conjunct with Mercury. And so that's what I meant by the stellium up here. They're all conjunct. They're directly feeding off of each other. And you can see it here as well. This says MC. That's her midheaven. That's where, this is the most public area of the chart. So when I see a whole bunch of planets like this up in the public part, this tells me that this person's probably outgoing, at least in my very limited experience. It's in the 10th and 9th houses. So 10th is career, this is friendships, and 9th, once again, I have to remind myself, I believe that's like open friends, expansion, exploration. Oh, right. Distance travel, foreigners, and beliefs. So with all these planets here, there's a very public thing happening with this person, but yet their north node is telling them that this is the direction-ish that they need to go. Now, generally getting to your north node is difficult. Your North Star, it's a learning, it's uncomfortable. Most people want to stay here. If you've got planets near that node, it's going to make it easier. You've got the energy to kind of help you out. It's odd to me looking at this chart that the south node is down here. Now, down here tends to be secrecy. The 5th house, because like it's in the dark when you think of it that way. Now, as I learn more, I may change my mind. Governs self-expression, drama, creativity. That's the 5th house, and that's where her south node is. Now, I happen to know the person of this chart. It's in Leo, so Leo tends to be very artistic as well. They tend to be outgoing. I have found that public figures, like artists and not artists, actors, they tend to have Leo prominent in their charts somewhere, whether it's rising, whether it's their sun. Leo is somewhere. So I would have to sit and study this chart a little bit more to see why. Like this part right here, I totally expect with this person. But I would expect that the nodes would almost be switched, because I think this person would benefit from getting more in depth with their thoughts and feelings and exactly how that expresses. So I know I went on a tangent there. So the conjunct, they directly feed off of each other. They're quite close. This is a trine. Trines are easy aspects. So trines, this is a sextile. These are all this, easy aspects. These are oppositions. So Chiron is, her wounded healer is opposite her communication, discipline, See, Uranus has a few different symbols too. So this must be Uranus, so it's opposite. What makes this person different, how they stand out, and the dreaming planet. It's not just dreaming, it's telling reality from fiction, or even if you can. So this person has a few oppositions, quite a few squares. Squares are difficult, not impossible. So these difficult aspects just means that there's a little bit more work that needs to go into that. And that can be okay. That's where we grow. It's kind of about what you would, how you see it, you know? So I know this video is getting long. I'm almost there. So what's the difference? Now, this is something I struggle with between your sun sign. This, we think of it like the light inside, versus your ascending sign. This is your outward expression, how you, like when you're in public, when you're on social media, this is how you display. This is how the world receives you. And it is a big aspect of who we are, because it's not just a mask. It informs a lot of us. And so sometimes I'm still early in this journey, and I often have a hard time. Like, I relate more to my ascending sign than I do my sun sign. And you may find that too. So if you're interested, let me know. Maybe we can do little studies together where we'll break it down a little bit further. Maybe just study each planet, each sign, each house, and then go one by one instead of all of it at once. I want to do a few charts of public people. I've always been looking for answers of why people do what they do, and I studied psychology for many years, and I finally came to astrology, and it's odd that I feel like it gives me answers, but I would love to do some astrology charts of public people, to see what is what, you know? So that was just a little bit of astrology. I hope I made sense. I've just been so excited to sit and talk to you guys about astrology, because like, it's so fun. It's way more math and measuring than I thought that it would be, and you need to know way more. If you're going to get into astrology, it's actually a lot more than you would ever think. Like, no wonder none of us really relate to our sun sign, right? So thank you for hanging out with me. It was a lot of fun. I hope I made sense. Thank you again. It's your local art witch, and I hope you come back again. Thanks.